All right. So just a little while ago, no joke at all, my director, my friend, my good friend Dennis, that's been helping me with the YouTube channel. We're having a conversation, and he looks past me through the window, and no joke, there was a hen turkey out in my woods, and he ran into the other room. He grabbed one of the calls, came to the door. Dennis lives in a very, very high rich game environment, predator, turkey, and this was the first time he's ever called to a turkey. He cracked open up the door, mediocre turkey sounds. And I've said this before, he didn't sound good. It was mediocre turkey sounds. That bird was in the woods, came up through the woods, popped up, and it was so much fun for me to watch Dennis sit at the door with the door cracked open. He's wearing a bright fluorescent orange and yellow safety road construction vest, yelping at this bird with mediocre turkey sounds. That bird came out of the woods, and it was just looking. He had so much fun. I had so much fun teaching somebody how to use a call to communicate with wildlife. It was great. It, like, honestly, it was just that I wish we had the camera going. It was enjoyable for me to watch a friend of mine communicate with wildlife. That's why we do this. It's not to just shoot the bird with a firearm. I love shooting the bird with a camera. Watching Dennis do that was an absolute blast. Communicating with wildlife, this is why we do it. It's not just about killing the animal, it's learning, observing, communicating. Primarily I sell game calls to hunters. I've sold game calls to wildlife photographers. Manipulating, communicating to wildlife, you're not necessarily just shooting the animal with a firearm, but shooting them with a camera. I love, like, my passion, I absolutely love shooting shooting animals with a camera, not a firearm. I love documenting and photographing, taking pictures, taking video, working with a TV show. I give Live the Wildlife full video content of wildlife interactions using my game calls, and they give me full, I give them content, and they give me exposure on a national level on a television show. It's totally reciprocated. I absolutely love communicating with wildlife. That's what I do for a living. So, we're going to go right into this next section of locating and scouting turkeys. So, what are the most reliable indicators that a gobbler is using a specific area daily? I'm going to kind of come back to that. I'm going to skip over that. You could have a beautiful looking area that looks like it would hold a gobbler, but I'm going to come back to it. The next one after that, so we did 14, 15 before that. Number 17 right here. How do you confirm a roost without bumping birds? Wintertime, springtime, summertime, roosting areas are going to change with habitat features, with seasonal change. Those things are going to change annually, but the time of the year that we're hunting the animal, those are the areas that are usually going to stay constant. So one thing you can do now, and I say right now because New York turkey season has not opened up, go for a walk. Look for a lot of congestion of turkey droppings on the ground below a roost tree. Look for those signs where the birds are roosting. Now, you can't just walk through the woods and that tree no droppings, that tree, no droppings, you're going to walk forever. Look for topographical features. So, we're lazy. Work hard, work smarter, not harder. If you have a topographical feature like this, why would the bird fly from down here all the way up into a roost tree up here? Typically, that bird is going to walk uphill and fly out into a roost. They're not going to fly up into a roost. It exhausts more energy, and they are not graceful flyers. Work smarter, not harder. You have a topographical feature on an incline like this, the bird is going to walk up and pitch out. So they're not up here flying up, they're up here flying out. When they roost into the tree, they're well above the ground level, giving them the sense of security to be protected during the sanctuary of cover of darkness when it's nighttime, and that's when they're going to be sleeping. So look at topographical features. You find hillsides, especially valleys. You find very, very narrow valleys. That bird can walk up this side, pitch out, walk up this side, and pitch out. And that bird is flying a limited short distance parallel to the ground, but when they hit the tree and they're roosting, vertically, they are so high above the ground, they're working smarter, not harder. So look at topographical features with valleys or steep inclines. You're more apt to find more conducive roosting areas for where the birds are actually roosting. So those are the things you're going to want to look for. Where are roosting areas? Aggressive topographical features and deciduous trees, not non-deciduous trees. Hemlocks, pines, they're not graceful flyers. Our area where we live, upstate New York, oaks, maples, not hemlocks, not pines. Find those deciduous trees that birds are going to be roosting in that have parallel limbs with a lack of foliage. Even when the foliage grows in, there's spaces in between instead of the congestion of foliage and congestion of limbs like on a hemlock or a pine tree. So look for those trees, look for topographical features, more aggressive topographical features. You're more apt to find roosting areas. So adjacent to those roosting areas, coming back to that previous question, what are the most reliable indicators that a gobbler is using that specific area daily? Strut areas. They are a very visual bird. Areas where that tom can strut, put on a show, they want to be visible. Find pockets of woods that have open visibility. You're going to find better strutting areas. Those strutting areas are going to indicate visibility. That is very, very important, especially when you're in timber areas, timber environments, not thickets, not really thick areas, not really thick, what I like to call rabbitat. Find those areas, and they're going to be more of a conducive strutting area for those toms. Feathers, droppings, go for a walk, go midday. New York, we can only hunt turkeys 30 minutes before sunrise till noon every day. Go for a walk. Go for a walk midday, especially this time of year. Don't be afraid about bumping birds in the month of April when we're hunting them in May. Go find what they're using now, apply that knowledge for the first week of May. It's going to help your success. All right, what terrain features constantly produce killable setups? I just answered that. I'm reading these for the first time. What terrain features constantly produce killable setups? Those roost areas, topographical features, more of an aggressive topographical feature that have deciduous trees, better roosting limbs. Look for the sign, scat falling from the tree, feathers at the bottom of the tree. Look for those topographical features, those deciduous trees. They are going to hold birds more often than not on aggressive topography. What sign do hunters overlook when scouting? What do they overlook? All right. I think one thing to overlook, and it's not necessarily sign, seasonal change. Seasonal change is probably going to be one of the most overlooked things by hunters in any demographic, any state. So here in New York, we cannot bait. We cannot bait for big game. We can't bait for turkeys, but we can cultivate, we can plant, we can hunt over food plots. If we can plant it, if we can grow it, we can hunt over it. We can't go out and dump a bag of corn and hunt over that animal. So what can we do? We can hunt over agriculture. Now for turkeys, what sign do hunters overlook when scouting? Look for property you have permission on or property you don't have permission on. If you have permission to have boots on the ground adjacent to these properties, this is very, very important. If you took a rototiller, a tractor, you cultivate land. You turn the earth over. Fresh tilled earth is like a corn pile for deer. Fresh tilled earth is the same thing for a turkey. If you have fresh turned earth, guaranteed, if you have turkeys in the area, they are going to be attracted to that fresh turned earth as soon as they find it, and it's going to be a revolving door every single day. Your cultivated fields, springtime, latter part of April into May, our turkey season in New York, the whole entire month of May, watch those fields. As soon as those fields are cultivated, if you have that hay field and it's gonna stay grass, it's gonna be harvested for hay, but adjacent to that, as soon as that field is cultivated for corn planting, soybean, whatever crop is going to be planted, that bird is going to be attracted to that cultivated, fresh turned dirt faster than anything you can imagine. Find those deciduous trees, gather that information where you think that bird is roosting, put yourself between cultivated earth and roosting area, calling, decoy setup, and 100% it's going to increase your chances for success on getting mature gobbler to come in. Because you're not necessarily in that instance, you're not hunting the tom, you're not hunting the hen, you're hunting the dirt. And who's going to be attracted to that? All of the birds. And what do you need to do? Captivate the attention of that mature tom with calling and potentially decoy setup. All right, here's a good one right here. What do you scout effectively with limited time? Mornings, on your way to work, you got a full-time job, 9 to 5, whatever the hours are that you work. What do you scout effectively when you have limited time? Grab a set of binoculars, go a little bit out of your way on your way to work, go a little bit out of your way on your way home from work, and especially if you have the time before you go to bed, in the evenings, if there's fields in the area that you want to hunt, binoculars, windshield time, just from the road. Watch where that bird is, look into the fields, find birds. Just that's all you want to do. Find birds. Not necessarily there's birds, find a mature bird. Make sure there is a huntable tom turkey, jake. If you want to shoot a jake, if you're happy, I'm happy for you. Me personally, not so much. Find a bird that you want to hunt. Make sure there's a bird that you want to hunt in that flock. Scout it. Drive a little bit out of your way in the morning. If you have fields that you can drive a little bit out of your way in the morning, on the way home from work, especially in the evenings. You got a wife, you got a kid, you got kids. This is what I used to do. When my kids were little, I would take 2 lollipops. I would stick both kids in the car seat and the back seat. Whoever sees the deer first gets a lollipop. And we would play a game. And we would drive all over my area. We would drive and I would just nothing but windshield time and scout. Not even on properties that I hunt. I want to see what deer are doing. And that's going to tell me a lot for areas that I hunt adjacent to those properties. Same thing with turkeys. You got kids? Go for a drive. Go look for wildlife. Bring a couple of lollipops. Give those kids some enticement. And go for a drive. Look for birds. Find where the birds are. So if you have limited time and you want to scout, windshield time. Go for a drive. If you have kids, give your wife some downtime. Leave her at the house. Leave her inside. Give her some downtime. Take the kids with you. Bring a couple of lollipops. Whoever sees the turkey first gets a lollipop. Windshield time. Find a bird you want to hunt, even if it's not on property that you can hunt. But if it's adjacent to property you can hunt, you know they're in the area and you know where to cut distance on them. Park, watch, observe, binoculars, nothing illegal about that, especially in our area. You can 100% glass from the shoulder of the road, use binoculars, somebody else's property, you're just observing. You're not spotlighting, you're not doing anything illegal. Get off of the maintained portion of the road, observe the animal, watch, where do they go? It's going to give you a direction of travel. That's really going to tell you what area, whereabouts that bird is roosting in. Can you cut distance? Do you have an approach? Can you get within that 100 yards, 150 yards? Can you get that close? Call them in and kill them. Windshield time, that's a big one. Right here, number 23. What changes in turkey movement after opening day pressure? That animal, so this is going to be a big controversy. And the animal, that turkey has a brain the size of my pinky nail. It's about the size of a pea. They are not smart. They are dumb. They are extremely dumb. That bird can't figure out how to cross a stream. It walks back and forth on a 2-strand fence, and it can't figure out how to cross it. They are not a smart animal. What they do have is a very, very adaptable survival instinct, like any other animal. You and I, as humans, we have that cognitive thinking ability, that problem-solving capability. We can adapt, we can think, we have that problem-solving. That gives us intellectual intelligence, but this animal does not have that. What they do have is adaptability and survival instinct, where pressure gives them that increased survival instinct. Does that make them smart? I beg to differ. I really beg to differ. So after opening day, like even on coyotes, even on deer, even on turkeys, they don't have that cognitive thinking ability, but they adapt to pressure. It doesn't make them smart. They adapt more to that survival instinct. What is that animal's job in nature? To survive. Period. That's it. So as the animal ages, as the animal grows, the animal becomes more in tune with those survival instincts. Does it make them smarter? I'm going to say no. It makes them adapt better to those survival instincts of, this is danger, this is how I survive. That's how we beat it. We need to recognize as hunters how to beat that. It doesn't make the animal smarter, they just adapt more to those survival instincts. That's what I did last time, that's how I survive. Like that coyote that you called in, I smelled danger. That sound means danger. So I smell that. Yeah, I'm not going to run into that screaming rabbit because I just watched Johnny get his butt blown off. They adapt to, oh man, crap. That animal is adapting to different stimulus that happens in damn it. That animal in nature is adapting to those survival instincts, to those different stimulus that happens in their environment. You call, something bad happens, is that animal going to do it again? It's kind of a coin toss. So what does that turkey actually do after opening day and the opening pressure? They don't survive by this. They survive by this, their eyes. So what you really need to do is trick that animal audibly. And I do a lot of shut up. Same thing with coyotes. I do a lot of walking, calling, shut up, look, listen, find the bird that wants to play the game. How do you find the bird that wants to play the game? You call, he cuts you off, he's probably coming. If he gobbles, cut distance on him, set up again, find areas that are conducive to bring that animal in. What changes in that animal's movements after opening day? Honestly, not too much. Everything that I've learned, roosting areas, if they're relatively left unmolested, they're going to continue to roost in those same areas. But as the season progresses, it's going to be foliage. Foliage and seasonal change is going to manipulate the movement of the turkey when they pitch down. They want to feel comfortable walking into areas that they can actually have the visibility. So the only thing, in my opinion, that really changes in turkey movement after opening day pressure is us as hunters being more, you know what? Hey, Dennis,
yeah.
we're gonna skip over that.
Okay.
I don't like it. So we're gonna skip everything that was what changes in turkey movement after opening day.
Perfect, sir.
We're gonna skip that one.
Go over and say something, but Kelly's in the lab.
Did you bring her in? Is she?
Yes, she is. Let me know if I can let her go. She's a good girl.
Oh, she is.
Can she come see you? Or?
Oh yeah.
That's what she wants to do.
Kelly dog. Boo. Come here, girl. Kelly. Who's my good girl? There's my girl. Hi. Who's a good dog? Hi. How are you, big girl? Oh, you're a good dog. How do you identify a dead zone before wasting a hunt there? This is a really hard one where you can go in the evenings and try to roost a bird, not physically watching birds fly up into the roost, but using a crow call, using an owl hoot. The last thing I really want to do is use a turkey vocalization, throwing out some yelps or some cuts to try to get a bird to gobble. I like to use other bird calls or even a peacock. Any bird vocalization other than a turkey, that's where I want to try to get that bird to gobble just from that audible stimulus in the evenings. If you don't get that gobble, it doesn't necessarily mean it's wasted effort. Sometimes birds will not gobble to an audible stimulus. Having a roosted bird gobble to an audible stimulus 100% gives you satisfaction. There is a male bird present. It's a huntable bird. It's something that you can hunt. Is it a mature bird? Listen to the gobble. Does it have that adolescent cackle to it? Is it that deep guttural vocal tom turkey? That's going to take time for you to learn those vocalizations, but to actually find out if it's dead, if it looks good and you don't have a gobble coming back to you, doesn't necessarily mean it would be wasted effort to hunt it in the morning. Honestly, the best way to find out is to put boots on the ground and go hunt it. If there's nothing there, nothing there. You know, sometimes some of the best stands I've had are go in completely blind, no roosted birds, and they light up in the morning, and it's some of the best hunting action I've had in the mornings. Sometimes in the evenings, completely dead silence. So it's actually very hard to determine if it's going to be a dead stand or not before you go there. Make sure there's adequate visibility, maybe a field's edge, some open timber. You don't want to hunt the thick of the thick of the thick of the thick. That bird wants the visibility to actually be able to visually see its surroundings. They're a very visual bird. So keep that in mind. Thickets, really thick stuff, hemlocks, I have personally not had a lot of good luck in deciduous forests, or non-deciduous. Non-deciduous trees, needles, pine groves, not a lot of good luck with that. Adjacent to that and non-deciduous trees, very good luck with that. What's the biggest mistake when roosting birds at night? Kind of going back into that. Personally, I like to use non-turkey vocals, whether it's an owl hoot, a crow call, a peacock call. I've even used a coyote howler to get a bird to gobble. That bird is up in the tree and gobbling to an audible stimulus. It doesn't necessarily have to be a turkey vocalization. I don't like using a turkey call to roost a bird. I've done it. I've been successful with it. I'll kind of graduate. Crow call, owl call, and I just use my voice. And I'll just rip off an owl hoot. Kelly, come here, girl. Who's a good dog? This is my beagle. This is Kelly dog. She is my rabbit dog. You're a good girl. You're a good girl. Yes. All right. All right. So, biggest mistakes when roosting birds at night, don't go into their habitat. That's going to be the biggest mistake. You want them to respond back from a distance. You don't want to be in their bedroom. You want to know where they are. You can hear where they are, and you can gather a plan to where to set up. But the biggest mistake is getting too close when roosting birds. You want them to gobble. You want to know where they are, and want to know what the habitat looks like so you know where to set up. So you have to kind of premeditate the area. You hear where the gobble is. I know where I can set up. I know where they're roosted. What's the vegetation look like on the ground? Here's a path of least resistance. All of these things you want to premeditate, not just where the bird is, just don't get too close to those roosting areas because you'll shoot yourself in the foot before it even starts, potentially even the night before. All right. How do hens affect morning positioning decisions? So, off of the roost, their hens really aren't going to affect where I set up, but they're going to affect how I call. I'm talking to him. I want him to come to me. If I have a lot of hen competition with a lot of hen tree talk, I'm not talking to him, I'm talking to her. I literally want to ruffle her feathers, tick her off, and have her come in to my call just grumpy as all grumpy. What is he going to do? He's going to follow his girlfriend. So hens really don't dictate how I'm going to set up in the morning, but they're going to dictate how I'm going to communicate. When is a gobbler's pattern predictable and when is it chaos? Ooh. All right. I think the best way to answer this, when a gobbler's pattern is predictable, is what you watch. You get statistics. You watch what happens. You set up, timber, field, fly down. Which way do they go? They do it one day. They do it again the next day. Are you going to sit there the third day and let them go away from you again? Go set in the direction that they're traveling. So don't hunt where the turkeys are. Hunt where they are going. Go to that spot, beat them to the punch, be at their destination point, or be at their direction of travel where they're typically flying down and traveling in that direction. Beat them to the punch. Oh, another good thing to bring up. So, something I watched in the past. We can't bait. We cannot bait for turkeys. I've never baited for turkeys. Landowners, property owners, the neighbor, they can have a bird feeder. They can have all of these bird feeders on their properties, and I watched this one bird. What did that one bird do every day? He would pitch down, and he would just follow the hens. He would work across the edge of this field, and he would walk a quarter of a mile following these birds. And they were going to another property, and they were going to a bird feeder. They were going to a bird feeder that was over a quarter mile away. So I changed my tactic. Went to the other side of the property where I had permission. I set up, and they had destination points every single day. And this was also early season. That Tom is following those hens. Pitch down, hens would pitch down, he would pitch down, they would gather up, and he would follow those hens to that bird feeder every single day. They had a destination point. And I found what that destination point was a couple days after that first hunt. So I relocated, went to the other side of the field, and it was patterns. Creatures of habit doing the same thing every single day. No decoy, and a couple calls just from inside of the timber. And the hens would come by. I would call. I'd get that mouthy hen to open up. She'd deviate, come my way, and that Tom would just follow her right in. That's how I was able to take that Tom. Only because I knew what their destination point was. They were going to somebody's bird feeder that was a quarter mile away from the property that I was hunting on. So if you know the destination point of where that bird's going to, beat them to the punch. Don't hunt the bird, hunt the destination point. Hunt where the birds are going. Don't hunt where the birds are. I've had so much luck over the years doing this. What's the best way to scout with educated birds? I'm going to say destination points and later in the morning. Where does that bird want to go and where do they feel comfortable? Another good way to do this is from the truck. Scouting. windshield time. Where are they? What are they doing? When are they there? The times you're not hunting, and apply that on the weekend. If you have a 9 to 5, you're working Monday through Friday, that bird doesn't know what day of the week it is. Drive early morning on your way into work, check those fields, check those timber blocks, scout from the road, try to find where those birds are and what they're doing. And I'm pretty confident if they're doing it on a Thursday, they're doing it on a Friday, you got Saturday morning off, they're probably going to be in that spot Saturday morning. So if you have birds that have been pressured, whether it's on state land or private land, if it's on a Thursday or a Friday, they're probably going to do it on a Saturday. You just need to spend the time and have a little bit more diligence of get up a little early, spend a little bit more time, because you want to hunt where there's birds. How do you use elevation to your advantage when scouting? I like this because I said this before in a previous video. You don't want to give the bird the topographical advantage. They are very visual, and if they have the opportunity, they're going to want to take a little bit of an incline. They're going to want to take that high side so they can have that topographical advantage, so they can see what they're coming into when they're coming to a call. So if you have the opportunity, take the high side away from the bird, and that is going to be one of the animal's downfalls. That's going to be your success. That's going to be their downfall. Try to take that high side away if you have topographical features where you can take that high side away. All right, what scouting mistake ruins more hunts than anything else? I'm going to honestly say probably the biggest mistake that ruins anybody's hunt in scouting is getting too close. You don't know, you don't need to be on top of the birds to know where they're at. Use your ears, use your binoculars, use your windshield time, scan from the road, do everything you possibly can from a distance. You can hear, depending on foliage of vegetation, the time of year, you can hear that bird's gobble from so far, hundreds of yards away. You don't need to be right on top of that bird to actually scout the bird. If it's, right now it's 7:10 in the evening, we probably got about 30 more minutes before that bird's going to be flying up into the trees. I don't need to be right on top of that bird to know exactly where he is. I'm going to wait till about 7:45, maybe even 8 o'clock, right now in the latter part of the month of April, to try to get that bird to open up his mouth, whereabouts he is. I don't need to know exactly where he is. I need to know whereabouts he is so I can cut distance on that area. That's probably going to be one of the biggest downfalls for anybody scouting turkeys, is actually getting too close to find out where they're roosting. Use binoculars, use your ear hole, open them up, listen to where the birds are, and get a general idea of location where the birds are. Don't bust them. Don't bust up that flock. Know exactly where they are. Have an idea of where they are, and gather a game plan of topography and vegetation on the ground to give that bird the best opportunity to come to a call where it's not blocked between you and vegetation.